Hello and welcome back to the Not the Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks, here to look ahead to the four Scottish Premiership matches we have this weekend. Obviously, we're down two because of the League Cup final, and we've got plenty of interviews coming from that already on the channel. You'll have seen two interviews with former players. Firstly, Danny McNamara of St Johnstone, formerly now at Millwall. You can check that out, as well as Emmanuel Dorado, who doesn't know who St Johnstone is. And Talk Livy's preview of the cup final, which I do recommend you check out on their socials. But yeah, he had a bit of an interesting message on that, which was a bit different from from when we recorded with him, but a good interview nonetheless, at least in my humble opinion. So go do check that out, and as well as that, our current players at Livingston St Johnstone. First of all, we had Liam Gordon on from the St Johnstone perspective, and Gavin Riley will be on from the Livingston perspective as well. So do check that out. That'll be a few hours after this, and we'll double upload on the Saturday due to the League Cup on the Sunday. But as I record this as Premiership action, so we've got Celtic, Aberdeen, Hibs, Motherwell, Kilmarnock, Dundee United, and St Mirren, Ross County to look ahead to, as well as all your usual hearing from your managers, etc. Celtic v Aberdeen. Speaking of managers, it was a big week in terms of the managerial um, situation at both clubs. Obviously, Aberdeen managed to get a victory, which was the big talking point in this game, maybe. But nonetheless, Aberdeen, they were here at Parkhead a few weeks ago, and it was 1-0 defeat. Good David Turnbull goal, sealing it, albeit, I mean, it was pretty clear that Aberdeen maybe should have pressed a bit more urgently in the build up to that. But a good strike for David Turnbull nonetheless, and that's all there really was to settle things. Not a lot in it. Aberdeen maybe could have nicked a point in the second half, but they were in that run of games without a goal, and they have managed to break that, albeit with the solitary one against Kilmarnock last weekend via Callum Hendry. We've not been helped in the striker front this week, so one evil away, another one presents itself, this time in the form of another injury to Fraser Hornby, who's got a thigh tear, and that could keep him out for the rest of the season, if not a large part of it, and he'll probably only be back for the last few games. So really big blow for him. He was starting to get his match sharpness back after arriving from Stade de Rennes in the winter window. But now it looks like his Aberdeen loan spell, it might be a case of what if. So a shame for him, but Aberdeen looking to keep the pressure up on Hibs as they push for third spot. Celtic, of course, not obviously shying away from it. Neil Lennon left Parkhead earlier this week, and now they go into their first match under interim boss John Kennedy, probably looking to impress the new man in the dugout after a season of disappointment at Parkhead after 9 seasons of complete dominance in the Scottish Premiership. But Aberdeen really do need to be winning this. Hibs will be favourite in their match we'll go on to speak about against Motherwell. And by the end of play tomorrow, you could be looking at a gap of around 7 points potentially for Hibs. And with 8 games to go, that would be very, very difficult for Aberdeen to make up on Hibs. They've still got to play each other once, of course, but Aberdeen have got a home game against Hamilton, who are scrapping for their lives down the bottom. Dundee United away before the split. And then they'll obviously play Celtic, Rangers again. Livingston, not potentially, they probably will be Livingston once they stay there, whereas Hibs have also got games in hand over them as well. So they've got the home tie against Motherwell, but then after that, they've got 3 away games to St Johnstone, Ross County, and Livingston. So not guaranteed points from those games, but they'll have the game in hand, and they'll still to play Aberdeen once more as well, and they could potentially get a victory or even a draw in that. So Aberdeen really need to be winning this to try and keep up that push. Speaking of Hibs and Motherwell, yeah, it'll be an interesting one. This it'll be one I am at. Hibs need the victory to continue their push for third. If they win this, then I think it's then completely. It's already theirs to lose, but I think it'd be completely theirs to lose. It'd be a really big disappointment if they lost it from a 7-point advantage. But won't be a given against a Motherwell side who the last couple of Saturdays have been, let's just say, not good enough. A 7-1 aggregate defeat to both Hamilton and St Johnstone. But the 0-0 draw against St Mirren midweek did provide optimism. They were back to at least 100%, albeit perhaps not finding that touch in front of goal in what wasn't a game for the football purists. They did have the best chance in that game through Devante Cole hitting the post, but overall, probably a point was fair in that game earlier in the week. But yeah, tough task this for Mull to build on that and try and get 3 points. they're in the position Ross County, Kilmarnock and Hamilton are in. Definitely the best position. Out of all of them, they are 5 points clear of the bottom 2 spots. But now they have played all their games in hand. Hamilton and Ross County are going to have games over them, albeit against St Johnstone and Hibs, which will make that very difficult for Ross County and Hamilton. But yeah, I think Mull are just a couple of victories away from being safe, but they need to get them. They'd rather have them sooner rather than later before you get to the split, and then it's really is the League Cup finals in a way, in the sense of massive 6-pointers all over the shop. But yeah, it'll be an interesting tie for Hibs. Great news ahead of it. Joe Newell signing his new contract earlier in the week, and Josh Doig signing his on the Friday until 2025. He had already been penned to the summer of 2023, but has now extended to the summer of 2025. If you do remember, likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Celtic, Manchester City, Leeds United, I think were another one, and lots of others were linked with his name last month. And he is going to be bound for a big move in the future, but in the short term, he does see his future at Easter Road. In the long term as well, given the length of his deal and a big boost for Hibs. So contrast and contract stuff for Hibs manager Jack Ross and Mull manager Graham Alexander. First you'll hear from Jack Ross, who is delighted to have both Josh Doig and Joe Newell on contract extensions, whereas Mull manager Graham Alexander knows that it's going to be difficult to keep out of contract Alan Campbell after his 150th appearance for the Steelmen.
I think there's obviously a couple of parts to it. I think for us to give ourselves protection in terms of trying to keep him at the club for longer, and protection a longer contract gives you in terms of any potential suitors in the future, and then also because his progression to the first team has been quick, and his previous contract was obviously one that reflected him being a development player. I think it's also incumbent upon a club to ensure that they're rewarding players for where they stand within the club. He's a first team player on merit, and I think he'll continue to be so. So I think it was important that we recognised that as well. So pleased that we were able to come to an agreement with him, and I think he's actually delighted. We're obviously really pleased as well. That's another hopefully positive step forward the club in terms of securing as good a young player as him for a number of years ahead. I think he's been an important player for us this season. I think that's been recognised. I think he's had deserved plaudits. He's when you work with him every day, you appreciate how good a player he is. He is a very talented player. He's got very good pedigree. If you look at the number of games he's played his career and the level he's played them at, obviously he's played in a different role this season, playing more centrally, and you feel as if it was better suited to him. And I think he's flourished under that as well. So again, if you look at his age profile, we feel as if he's coming at the peak years of his career. So I think he's a good fit again. We've hopefully helped him improve his game, given him the platform to show how good a player he is, and I think he's more than rewarded us, if you like, in terms of the level of performance he's given this season.
Yeah, he's I think without trying to sound like his dad, I love him to bits. He's everything that a professional footballer should be. His dedication to the game. His dedication to his team, what he puts in, he gets out. He should be a shining example for every other pro that sees him work, really. Because he's highly rated. He plays week in, week out. He's always there, but it's because of the work he does away from the pitch on a match day, and whatever he achieves in the game, he will certainly earn. And like you say, to get to 150 appearances at such a young age is fantastic for him, and it's just it's sort of a marker for his approach to the game, but also to the way his parents have brought him up and how Motherwell have brought him through as well. So there's a lot of credit to be sort of spread around, but ultimately it's down to the player, and without a shadow of doubt, Alan has deserved that, and whatever he goes on to achieve, it won't be a surprise to anybody.
You kept him in January, but probably a massive understatement to say you'd love him to be around the club for a bit longer in your reign.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, it's it would be extremely difficult. We know that, and there's and we understand. Look, I was a player myself, and we understand everyone's ambitious in football, and I think Motherwell have got a great history of maximising players' potential, but then letting them sort of fly away if that's the case. But in the right circumstances, and we felt in January it wasn't the right circumstances, and it was the right decision. But more than anything, Alan gave me the confidence that if we did keep him here until the end of the season, he was going to continue to give the performances that he does. And I had absolutely 100% confidence that it wouldn't change his approach in any way, and it hasn't. And that goes along for the other boys as well.
Kilmarnock, Dundee United in a massive game at the bottom. Kilmarnock, they've not been on a great run of form. It's fair to say they have lost every game since the 2-0 victory over Hamilton at the start of the year. They haven't scored in a lot of games. They've scored just in one game in this 8-game losing run. And against a team they did beat convincingly at the start of the season, they really need a victory. They need goals, which look in short supply. They'll be hoping Kyle Lafferty can hit the ground running. Be interested to see if he starts. But this is going to be extremely difficult for Kilmarnock. Their saving graces as it stands. They're not playing any teams now between now and the end of the season who could potentially finish in the top 6. Dundee United are still in the hunt, but perhaps they're on the outside bet in terms of competing with St Mirren and St Johnstone. And Kilmarnock have already beaten them this season. They have to beat them again. They've not been great over the last 30 games. I think Tommy Wright in his press conference saying the league table doesn't lie. They haven't been good enough over the 30 games, and that is why they are where they are. But if they lose this one, they could find themselves in a bit of bother. Hamilton, Ross County having games in hand over them, and if they manage to even get a point out of them, they start to have a wee bit of a gap cut up at the bottom. So really need to be getting a victory in this one before huge matches come for Kilmarnock. Looking just here, Ross County and Mull to come before the split. So could really be doing with 9.79. I know that's probably quite unrealistic given the season they've had so far, but they really could be doing with it to give themselves the best possible chance of surviving this season. And finally, on the Saturday, it's St Mirren versus Ross County. We heard from Jim Goodwin and John Hughes ahead of this one. Jim Goodwin welcoming back Colin Quainer for the battle in Paisley, whereas John Hughes wants his side to build on their fabulous 1-0 victory over Celtic last weekend.
Yeah, Colin has trained really well this week, and he is in consideration for tomorrow. So he'll be in the squad for tomorrow, and I've got a decision to make then whether we throw him in or whether we start him on the bench. But he is one that has looked really, really sharp in training, which is a blessing, I suppose, because we've all waited very patiently for the big man to get back fit. And credit to Kevin Bain, the physio, and Junior Mendes. They've managed to get him to the position he's in now, and he feels as if he's ready to help the boys out. He is still here, yeah. Unfortunately, Brandon has had a reoccurrence of the injury picked up at Livingston, and prior to that happening, Brandon was excellent in the 3 games that he played up to then, but he took a real serious knock on his ankle. It was touch and go whether it required surgery. We left it to try and settle down on its own. We were confident that it was back to a manageable kind of place, but unfortunately in the last couple of weeks, it started to cause him some problems again. So he's had an injection in that early in the week. He won't be available for this weekend, but hopefully we'll get him back in training next Monday.
It's certainly a good result. It's brought our springs to our step. It's important we get our feet back on the ground. So we were off Monday. We were training away there yesterday, and it was a good session. So all credit to them. 1 or 2 of them arguing, and in the 5-a-sides that do your job. So that tells me the Celtic game's forgotten about. They want to win a 5-a-side match, which is good. It's been like that a few times this season. They beat Celtic in the cup, and you would hope it was the same. But it's important that it does give us the confidence and the momentum for the rest of the season. I've said many a time that every game from now to the end of the season is a cup final, and beating Celtic was a bonus. So it means nothing if we don't go and do the business against St Mirren. So we have to do the business. It's good. It's going to be there. You know, I don't think we're going to be shooting up the league for now to the end of the season. It's going to be nip and tuck. We know that. But I'm looking at performance. And the performance, although it was a different performance for one or two other games, the performance that they gave me against Celtic the other night there was, if we keep doing that, then I think that we'll win more games than we'll lose. So they've set themselves a standard, you know, and they can't go below that. So it's my job to keep that standard going. And that's what I'm trying to do at the club. You're always pressing buttons, pushing them, trying to get the best out of them. And I'm really pleased for one or two of the guys that come in, Gardine and Spittle, you know, come in and played their part. And all the substitutes as well that come on. You know, because the reason I'm mentioning the substitutes is usually when you know in the starting 11, you're not happy about it, you're not really taking it on board, what the tactics are. But every one of them went on and played their part. So it shows me that they're listening as well. So when you do get the opportunity, you know, they go in there. And there's competition for places, that's what we've got. So we're in a good place going into towards the end of the season.
Yeah, again, I mean, you could pretty much, it's getting to that point in the season where the table is pretty much, you can get a rough idea of where everybody's going to finish. But St Mirren need the victory in this one to strengthen their top six. But if they win this, then yeah, it's in their hands just now, but it's fully in their hands if they manage to win this. They've drawn their last four. It's been, I think it's 10 games in 30 games. 10 games in 30 days, sorry, that Jim Goodwin said his players have played. So monumental effort from them. They're still in the top six, running with Ross County. They've got big results over Hibs, Aberdeen, Celtic twice this season, but they've never been able to build on it. They have to do that now, because on their day, they've proven that they are more than good enough to stay in the Scottish Premiership. It's just about getting that consistency. Right, that's all we've got time for on this quick preview. I hope you have enjoyed. Do remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Keep up to date with our socials, website, and our YouTube channel for all the League Cup build-up as well. Obviously, the 4 interviews, and as well as that, we'll have an instant reaction on the full-time whistle on Sunday. So do check that out. And yes, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and until next time, take it easy.